peace. This week also, the presidency reacted to a report by the European to withdraw a suit taken to stop the Economic Crimes Commission, EFCC, from probing Abdullahi Ganduje, former governor of the state, over bribing allegations. And finally, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission says it does not have files implicating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in its offices. That's much we have on offer on the show today. However, let's start off by bringing our guests into the conversation, all of whom are with me in the studio. So let's quickly head into the conversation. I'm going to introduce my guest, Mr. Elvis Elimehele. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. All right, Mr. Elimehele is a political analyst and, of course, a social commentator. This program is a actually give out his view on anything political topics that we are having a conversation on. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Also, I have in the studio Barrister Joe Okedi. Good evening.
Good evening, viewers and greetings.
Barrister Joe, that's the signature. Barrister Joe, how are you? Barrister Joe is a good practitioner. He's a legal practitioner, a political enthusiast, as well as a social affairs commentator. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation. All right, so let's start off exactly with the situation that transpired on Monday, where INEC stated that, okay, the court converged, right? Were to present three witnesses. INEC had already stated they were presenting three witnesses. The witnesses were meant to shed light on what transpired on February 21, possibly in some instances across some colleague units on March 18. There were issues across some colleague units as well. Now, when they arrived at the court, INEC said, to the surprise of the Labour Party lawyers, that three of their witnesses could not speak or be in court due to domestic reasons. Domestic reasons were not mentioned. And because of this, there was a Tuesday, whereby they were mentioned. The functionality test and also the performance test. Remember the mock exercise that took place before the elections. Now, after all of that took place, apparently about 85%, let's just use 85% functionality was happened. Performance test, everything went well. Why are they not telling us why there were glitches? Why is that not coming up? They brought in the deputy ICT director. Why are we not getting that information?
Well, it's obvious that what Amazon said, that there were no shutdown of bridges in any of the installation worldwide, is coming to play. That INEC is, causing web. I'm very sure that they don't know what to tell Nigerians any longer. Yes, INEC did all the initial preparation for the election, especially mock exercise. I was also observing that mock. That was the first time Nigerians be working on the beavers. I saw Nigerians were actually very enthusiastic about the working on the beavers. And that mock, Nigerians saw some few people that were part of that mock exercise saw at least the beavers and how it's going to be used on that 25th of February. And to our surprise, Esther, the 25th of February accreditation of voters, the Beavers did not disappoint. It did its job credibly until it got to the time of, want to start, uploading the results. That's when we started hearing issues to the Beavers. So what happened in the court that day that only one witness came, and that witness, even when he was being asked about what happened that made the INEC not able to upload the results, presidential election results, he could not really give any about it because already the producer of that of the beavers have already told us that nothing happened. What person is coming to tell Nigerians again or coming to tell the court? It's just like the source I've already told you, there was nothing happening to to what I gave to you. It's just that you manipulated in such a way that probably you want to use it to, for some other reasons, which is actually playing out now that the glitches that we heard about that, uploading presidential election result on that 25th of February actually came as a result of something else. But that was exactly what we wanted that Pastor Bayode to tell Nigerians and the court that day, but he technically not say anything. So we are now at the junction that we are looking at the judiciary to make their own pronouncement because Amazon has spoken. I think has also now to clear what they know about it. The people have always been saying that, this beaver that could not upload results, there's something behind it. So now it is now left for the judiciary to actually interpret whether they were behind it from what they heard from the people and from the producer that nothing happened to our system that day. So everything is now at the text of the judiciary to actually interpret and tell Nigeria that this is our findings. So we are watching. It's becoming a drama and it's becoming interesting. But we hope that the best will come for Nigeria.
Barrister John Wokede, under cross-examination by Lateef Fagbemi, the Council for the All Progressives Congress, Biden said blood documents downloaded from the downloaded from the results viewing portal IREP does not affect the polling unit results recorded in forms EC8A. So the question is, if the IREP portal is one of the one of the defense of Mahmoud Yakub in November 2022, when questions were being asked, what is the authenticity of the IREP portal and how should we consider it valuable? Because there were some updates in the electoral, in the electoral acts. So how do we trust that the IREP portal is now part of the process? It's something that is vital. But if the results from the IREP portal were blurry, what results were being collated? I need to understand how exactly were results collated if results from the IREP portal were blurry. And if they went through the manual process of collating results, how do we trust the transparency of that process?
You see, they said that someone who are reading the Sadliches. They said that's mother priest, errors and mistakes. And the more you want to cover one, you open up another. You can never perfectly cover a murder case without an error. There must be an error that will occur somewhere. And most of the Sadliches books, you see an error that will just unknowingly occur, which will not be within the contemplation of those that actually planned that if. And from there, investigation will reveal what has transpired. INEC is just like getting from pillar to post. Okay. It was very clear that what happened was an intentional act, deliberately, deployed, just deployed to achieve the targeted objective they achieved. I presume can do his victory as act of the INEC chairman repeatedly and consistently assured Nigerians that the election will be transmitted electronically. There was never a time Nigerians told that elections will be the result transmitted manually. Okay. The manual, how do you transmit results manually? When other elections that took place at the same time, I mean, House of Reps and Senate, we are transmitted electronically. Then how do you collect results manually? How long did it take you to announce that results? Were you able to collect results, all the polling units, all the federation? Within that time, checked it manually, did everything manually, and came up with the results you gave to Nigerians? Of course, answer is no. Then at what point did you resort to manual collection? When you have already, through your plans and arrangements, programmed that election will be transmitted electronically. In IREF, you are trying like a fallback. How long did it take you to upload results in that INEC and that IREF? Mm-hmm. How long? As at even 2, 3, 4 weeks, even a month after the election, still uploaded the results in IREF. But the same result you have announced somebody as the winner. One thing I know is that, people say judiciary is on trial, judiciary is on trial. Judiciary is not on trial. What is on trial is their conscience. Their conscience is on trial and not the judiciary. they already know what actually transpired. From preponderance of evidence and weighty issues that transpired in the court, it was quite obvious that what transpired on the 25th of February was intentionally orchestrated, choreographed, and executed. All these excuses they are coming up with, they couldn't even prove it. I know the fact with me, SN, with due respect, that they concern me, or just doing that to support the case of INEC, because they're like on the same the same party, facing PDP and the Labour Party being the petitioners, they're the respondents. So nobody will expect him to ask a question that will indict INEC. Do you understand my point? Even during cross-examination. But in spite of that, the young man that was in the talk couldn't give a vivid explanation as regards what transpired. Electoral Acts had actually admitted the transmission of results electronically. Yes. But that was what was used to knock off Article's case in 2019. That even though there was a backup server that proved that results that INEC announced that time differs greatly from what was at the back of the server. But unfortunately, the Electoral Act did not recognize electronic transmission of results. So the server evidence that Article gave resulted heavily during that 2019 election went to no issue.
Barrister Joe, he said photographic copies of forms EC8A are captured with the bimodal voter accreditation system and transmitted to the IREV are not relevant for the collation. That is what Bayode Lawrence said, Pastor Bayode Lawrence. And when it came to the glitches, I remember the question I asked exactly is, if the Amazon Web Services said that they did not get any report of glitches, whatever, from their portal, they said so. They gave a report on that. Now, while he was addressing the issue, because that's basically why he was there, he said during that, performance, functionality, and vulnerability tests were conducted on the IREV before the election.
Exactly. And the functionality was not in doubt.
Exactly. So, but he now said, however, he said, occur. So he gave that umpire. So there's a possibility that an error could occur when sending the results from forms EC8A to the portal. Now the question is, why did that particular error occur for the presidential election?
That is the question on the lips of everybody.
That is what everybody is asking.
That is the question that even INEC, even their witnesses and everybody they have, even the first two Sokoe, the one that was engaged on our channel's television, couldn't answer that question. So from inference, it would be rightly inferred that there was intentional acts. Something, because if you said that something actually had a problem, it cannot define every explanation and every understanding and knowledge. You have your facilities, electronic facilities you use, whether your phone or whatever that has issue. There was something had issue, whatever transistor had issue, or this had issue. To was packed off, there was a fire. There must be something that makes any gadget not to work. They have not told us what made it not to work. And Amazon that actually, had that website, had that particular product. They said there was nothing that was brought to their notice. Because we don't even look at it from contractor perspective. Amazon is the service provider for that sense. They have a contract with Nigeria. Now, what they support Nigerians are like good, very, very effective, and will answer to the need where it was supplied. And Nigerians paid them. So if there was anything that actually happened within that,
ought to be on that.
They have to get back to Amazon and possibly sue Amazon. Possibly sue for breach of contract. Exactly. Because this is a defective product you sold to us that now disappointed us and then a kind of created problem in what it ought to have done for us. By now, they will have sued Amazon for breach of contract. They have also sued Amazon for supplying defective product, and they receive lots of money in damages. Are they doing that? No, we're not lawyers. These guys are talking to people that are smart. We go to court. You can't supply me a product that's supposed to work at a certain place and time, and that thing puts a fault. And I couldn't use it to achieve that purpose. And I allow you to go. I won't even call your attention immediately. Look, this phone you supplied me, the phone you gave me that I used to do our Zoom meeting. That it's time for Zoom. This phone is not coming on. What is going on? I don't know what is coming on. The phone is not coming on. The Zoom is not connecting. And I bought this phone, this Zoom. Now the whole place is like trying to key into our meeting, but the phone is not coming on. Next thing I will do is like call you soon. Look, you have to tell us why this phone failed to work. And next thing I refund us our money, you breach our contract, I will sue you to court to claim damages. And court will gladly award you cost in relation to the specific amount of money purchased and also damages.
Yes.
For aggravated damages and damages for the discomfort and crisis that it created. Till today, we have not seen any.
Remember that
it's not suing Amazon.
Remember that you can actually be part of the conversation.
It's not suing
Amazon. You can call us on 0700 903 903 903. That's the number for you to call to be part of the conversation. 0700 903 903 903. And of course, our WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. 0700 903 9039. Now, we actually have a clips where we want you to listen and watch the Labour Party lawyers actually describe their own surprise on Monday and the reaction and the response of the Deputy Director of the ICT, the witness, that was being questioned or cross-examined by INEC's lawyer precisely on Tuesday. I want us to actually watch that.
We have IREV copies certified by INEC, which are completely raw, unreadable, contains strange pictures, images. Indeed, ex-director was given a copy of this blog of PCTS, presumably.
INEC called one witness, closed their case. Second and third respondents called one, closed their APC had no courage to call any, and they closed their case. The witness for the second and third, the only thing I can say, I encourage you people, look for his deposition, place it side by side with the cross-examination. You make up your minds and find out whether the two of them are consistent. I don't want to go further into that. You can do the investigation. So I can tell you that we are happy the way the hearing ended. We are very ready to react to the addresses of the respondents, which they must file in the next 10 days from today. Thereafter, we will file our reply.
There was made what is on IREV. But we have forms EC88, we have IREV copies certified by INEC, which are completely flawed, unreadable, contains strange pictures, images. Indeed, the IC director was given a copy or copies of these forms EC88, presumably, and was asked to tell the court how many scores that were written on those copies. If you were in the court, you would have seen the difficulty because nothing was written on those documents. So one wonders On what basis did INEC collect the result? On what?
All right, those were the representatives of Labour Party. Levi Izuku, and of course another lawyer telling you precisely that the results were blurry. So where did you make your declaration from? Barrister good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Spotlight.
Thank you
for joining us.
Yeah.
Now you heard the Labour Party lawyers actually talk about what the Deputy ICT Director of INEC said. And I want you to hear what he actually said. He made another statement again, which I expect us to talk about, because we're not discussing the court, but these are things that the president that had taken place. So he told the court that the glitches recorded during the presidential poll did not affect the credibility of the results. What does that mean?
What it means is that he's living in denial, because they told us that there were glitches.
Okay.
So, and that is why they could not transmit. So, if you say there were glitches, that's why you could not transmit. You cannot turn around and say that the glitches did not affect the outcome. This appropriating and reprobating the law are not allowed. Okay. What they have done is that even on different fora, the first Okoye was put through a TV station not too long ago. This question was put forth to them: what kind of glitches happened? Was it human? Was it technical? Was it computer? What exactly happened? And they could not give answer to the question, because that same day, other different areas were transmitted. Okay, so that question is lingering, and there must be an answer to that question before INEC will rest. Even though they have closed the case by calling one witness, and the other party have also closed their case by calling one witness. The truth is that a case is not determined on its value based on the quantity of witnesses, or the quality of evidence. Okay, so the fact that the party in this case that is talking about INEC and the APC, who's a first and second respondent, the fact that the tender just called one witness, which is more like, it sounds to me more like resting your case on the case of the prosecution, because given the quantum of evidence and what is required, and the number of units in contest, and the kind of evidence that were tendered by the petitioner, one would have thought that, because, one of the defendants listed 3 witnesses, but called one, and then the other one also called one. And these are issues for which the court will determine at the end of the day. But the truth is that it's not in the number of witnesses. But we had expected that at least they should have more than one witness each on the case. But since they chose to call just one, in their own interests, or for reasons best known to them, they have decided to take that decision. I think the court will move forward. The court have not given the date for the next phase, that is regional addresses. When adoption of regional addresses, the court will communicate to parties, but perhaps they have more issues they will address in their regional address. Yes. Because the fact that you not call all your witnesses does not mean that you have lost out. In your regional address, you can raise all other issues that you can raise. But the truth is that the volume of witnesses does not determine quality of evidence.
Well, the volume of witnesses does not determine the volume of evidence.
Quality of evidence.
So even if you bring only one witness,
yes,
if your evidence is strong enough,
no, there are instances. Yeah, there are instances where you don't even call any witness. You just rest your case on the petitioner's case.
Wow.
Most times in criminal prosecution, it's common are three ways to respond to a criminal proceedings. One is either
the EU report is ridiculous. They also said the report is capable of creating chaos in the country, and the country's unity and security is at stake. Remember, they were already going through that process. Then also, one particular Lillian, there was nowhere in the world that election is devoid of crisis and hitches. So right now, they're defending why there were glitches, possibly because they are supporters of the current administration. Now, the question is, they are asking the EU to urgently withdraw the report and come up with another report that will be favorable to Nigeria. The federal government asked and invited the European Union to come observe the elections. They collected money or grants from the EU so that they can have a transparent exercise, have proper mobilization of the elections. And now we are hearing people say that the report from the EU is spurious, is limited, lacks authenticity. Barrister Evans Ofeli, what kind of political personnel do we have?
Well, you see, the truth is that the EU have nothing to lose or gain in whether our elections are perfect or imperfect, or whether there were glitches or issues of irregularities or court and all that. They have nothing to lose or gain in this. And the truth is that the EU have been very transparent in that report. I read that report from cover to cover. And the truth is that I, as a person, I don't need that EU report. I know what happened during the election.
You witnessed it.
And what they have reported is even an underreporting. The EU did not report enough for what happened.
They underreported.
Yes, the irregularities and glitches in the election were far deeper than what I think they were trying to be diplomatic and then just use mild language to, put so that perhaps the country does not go into crisis. The truth is that those who went to protest, should be ashamed of themselves, because I know that protest was funded. Yes, that protest was a financially induced protest. Yes, I know how these things work. I've been in the CSO space for some time. Certain mobilizations that come with serious funding, and then people lose their reasons. They go out there to make protests, make statements. We saw it in Lagos State at some point during some protests. There were counter protests where people had funded some protests that happened where counter protesters were brought with SUVs.
So this protest was funded by individuals.
Yeah. This protest was funded. It was sponsored. It's not an organic one that is coming from a place of dispute.
So how the NSAS was adjusted.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's not different from it.
It's not different. We saw protesters who were brought in with SUV. They alighted from SUV. They were recorded by some residents, and we saw how that played out. So the truth is that they want to discredit the EU report, and they don't just want to make statements from the stables of government. They also have recruited some persons to go demonstrate and all that. And that is the reason we're not growing. Someone is telling you the truth of what they witnessed. They stayed 3 months here. They observed the election. Yes, even when we have elections in the US, Nigerians send delegates, representatives to observe the election. They come up with their reports. Okay, it is there are treaties to these things. To preserve democracy the world over, the UN have an obligation. Because the UN came as a result of the failure of the League of Nations. Okay, when the Second World War broke out. And they now say, okay, to avoid the Third World War, we need to have a formidable institution. And the UN came out as a result of that. And since then, the UN have tried as much as possible to preserve democracy and then to create programs along that line. They came up with the Millennium Development Goal, now Sustainable Development Goal, which they encourage countries that have signatories to to structure their government in such a way that you keep into the Sustainable Development Goal to eradicate poverty, illiteracy, and all social and human vices in society. Okay, so the projection of the EU is these are the observations. These observations, things that happen during our elections, we're actually contrary to the tenets and principles of democracy. And we want the EU to come all over from Europe to come to this place, observe elections, and then write report to favor us, because that's the demand of the protesters. Okay. They say they should set aside this report. They should go and write another report that will favor Nigeria. You see that demand? So that demand tells you that these people are sponsors. The sponsors told them that this is what you will put forth.
How ridiculous such a proposal is. How do you tell a body like EU an intensive overview of what transpired during the election and came up with a report that they should set aside such a report and then back on another do they take them to be like Nigerians?
No, sometimes they reason these things because of the way they've been governing this part.
Yes.
When they are doing all these things, they feel they are talking to Nigerians. This is EU. What would they gain if they come up with a report that is not favorable?
What they observe is what they have to.
No, but the point is that why would they even come up with a partial report? What they intend, what they gain, what they use to benefit from it?
Grants. When they were collecting grants, they never said EU was a criminal organization that they are coming for.
This is a question. Alaka stated that there is no substantial evidence provided by the EU or any foreign and local organization that it's viable enough to impeach the integrity of the 2023 election outcome. And the EU report, is it meant to impeach the integrity of the 2023 elections? No.
It is not.
That's not the objective.
That's not the objective.
The objective is to state what was observed. Yeah, because you see,
improvement.
You know, they are like being defensive in a bid to. No. You can do your job. You can do your job with reason. Okay, the fact that you are defending a cause does not mean you should overstate the objective of the adverse party. The objective of the adverse party is not to impeach with evidence the integrity of the 2023 election. The objective of the adverse party is to report what was observed. And what was observed, they will make recommendation. It's either you take it or you leave it, because in the international phase, there's what they call sovereignty. Okay, the only thing you cannot, the international law does not have an enforcement.
Okay.
I'm telling you this, you will surprise me. You know, the international law itself does not have an enforcement arm. There's no police or law enforcement agency international that will enforce it. The only thing that when they make recommendations and you are not, the only thing they can do is sanction. Sanction could be by bilateral or multilateral. Okay, that is what it could be. That's the highest they can go, because you have sovereignty and that sovereignty is respected. That's why there's no enforcement arm. Okay, but the truth is that EU has done its job. So calling them to come back to write another report that will favor you, for me, it sounds like taking a poisonous leaf purification feast, and that is wrong. The EU will not do that. They are not designed to act that way.
They are not going to do that. What the problem we have is we don't want to listen to the truth.
It's not that they won't want to listen to the truth.
But he spoke in generality. He spoke in general. He spoke for all Nigerians. General, like I said, Nigeria has put the elections behind them. If we have put the elections behind us, if we have put the elections, why do we have the election petition trial?
You cannot put such kind of election behind us.
Just his wish, or whatever he has actually, conjectured. As far as I'm concerned, the election is not behind us, and it will never.
It's because Nigerians are not vociferous enough to ask INEC to come and account financially. That's why people can say those statements. If it was to be a country where we voted this kind of money, we released this kind of fund for you, you messed up the election. By now, we would have occupied INEC. Okay, yes. Asking them to return the money that was spent. If we are at that level, then elected will not be talking like this, because we are indolent and we are lukewarm.
I think also because we are selling God. We are also selling God, because the principal actors, the Labour Party presidential candidate and PDP presidential candidate, decided to call for calm.
All right.
That nobody should.
I think that's what they are doing.
Nobody should. Yes, nobody should take any further step. Yes. Let us submit fully to the whims and caprices of the judiciary, and then until when judiciary will make a pronouncement. Then we'll now take it off from there. I know where where the pendulum swings. But then I like saying that Nigeria has actually taken everything, whatever I have. That is his own wishful thinking. And we're not surprised.
You cannot speak for Nigeria.
Yes, we are not surprised towards his utterances and this position. He has always been there before he was elevated to the position of spokesperson right now. Well, I'm even surprised we're not seeing the likes of Lai Mohammed already in him. So we believe that with time, what's like my friend here said, that the EU report that they don't want to listen. They will not listen because they know what they have actually perpetrated.
Well, it's not just the EU, even the UK government. Yes, certain persons.
Yes, they will not listen. Yes, because they actually want to impose. They want to impose this leadership on Nigerians.
So those
solely for their benefit. Solely for their benefit. And why this naturally created a serious, painful moment in the camp of APC because of the fact that they believe that the report will further embolden the judiciary and then indirectly reinforce whatever that might transpire in the course. The judiciary might now, even though that EU reports, although it was tendered to one of the witnesses during cross-examination, they're not saying that, look, the judiciary might depend on this, might further rely on this as part of evidence to show that even people that monitor a body as credible as EU can indict INEC and regard the election as being largely kind of not transparent.
Right.
So that is their fear, because they see afraid of what is in the courts, and we need a standard. We need a standard body, or somehow painted the standard body to embolden the judiciary to take a
But
post.
Mr. Elvis, the question in the mind of every Nigerian is, if the results were blurry, where did INEC see results to announce a winner? I think that's basically what the question is.
Yes.
I feel from body language and responses on the streets, we've been having this conversation for so long. A lot of people are saying, okay, fine, agreed, our person or whoever, it could be Atiku supporters, Labour Party supporters, every other political party supporters. Okay, our principle did not win, right? But we just want to know, how did you arrive at the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won this election? If you can tell us how meticulous the process was, and we can see, then nobody is going to hang you on the neck anymore. You've done your job. So if the results were blurred, right? Where exactly did or when, because it was in the night that I actually called and announced the result. So where did it collect? Where exactly did it collect that result and announce the winner?
Esther, that was the question that was supposed to answer to tell Nigerians where they got the result that they announced to bring in the president of Nigeria. That was one of his questions was supposed to answer, because these are questions that are in the lip of all Nigerians. Where did you get the result? Because even as we speak, presidential elections result is not still completely in the IRF portal. Till this moment, we have seen election that we've seen conduct of election in 2003 when Morisi conducted election that brought Obasanjo. We saw an election that Nigeria were like, is this an election? Everybody was fully condemned, even the EU and all. But Obasanjo government managed it in such a way that Nigerians now begin to, they went along with it to 2027. 2027, when 2007, when Yar'Adua was elected, Yar'Adua said it. He knows that the election that brought him has so much infractions, but that he was going to work on making it better for subsequent elections. That was when he came up with Justice Ways panel to review his election. We saw those ones. You see, when you are not speaking truth to what is going on, to issues, you are only compounding the issues and making everybody that be part of it, and I begin to make it like this is a cause that we must fight. When Yar'Adua said that, Nigerians, he has accepted. Therefore, let's with him and see how we can make these electoral processes in Nigeria to be more credible. We saw the little, even when he died, Jonathan took Nigeria election to a level that has now begun to have trust in election to some extent. You saw what the election he conducted in 2011 when he brought in the former Jega. Jega, I told Nigeria that he has not known Jega in any way. He has not met him. Jega was recommended. It's okay, let's bring him in. We saw 2011 election. I'm going to tell you that that's about one of the elections we have actually had in this democracy. This has been good, but because they have an ulterior motive behind them, they knew what they were going to do. That's why they got us to the football pitch. The was going on, it was not going to favor some certain party. They began to shift goalposts. Elections that were conducted, three elections were conducted that same day. Senate and presidential. The other two were,
very perfect. It went
without any issues. Then what just suddenly happened when it got to presidential election? So they started shifting goalposts because they have something else they had at the back of their mind. And that's what I'm telling them, tell Nigerians how this one happened. So they are sharing
they've not even sued
they've not even said that they are wrong.
In some cases, they have the same result.
Yes.
The same result churning out from two different.
Yes.
Well, you have a result from one state
enough for another. You see people's photos now uploaded into INEC portal. We're seeing that. Then we saw the photos of.
For me, I think what actually, the panic. There was something like this election. There was something that actually happened in this election.
Okay.
It was a fallout from Osun State election. APC never imagined that they would lose Osun State. So this electronic transmission actually exposed so many things. And they saw it coming. And people so much referenced Osun State election. And it gave people a lot of courage. And
that is what we needed an independent INEC.
Now,
what
they now did, at that point, they knew they cannot stop electronic voting. And they will not stop what transpired in Osun State. So what they now did was to plan something in between the goalposts, the game. It's a switch off. Just find a way and switch this thing off. And what happened in Ekiti State, here we lost election, even with everything we have, will not happen in this. They knew that Nigerians got inspired to come out to vote because they trusted that method of transmission. What happened in Osun State, where another person won.
The inspiration was just 25%.
Yes, when people won, and that is what they, because there were so many manipulations. Even during the registration of the voting, they also manipulated it. They were looking for PVC, everything was an issue. The issues
if only I had been faithful to the larger society,
as they did in Osun State.
Over 200 million.
Yes.
Do you understand? So I don't know what people get to compromise processes. And because I look at myself sometimes and I say, I will get how much to compromise to sell my people out. How? How will it happen?
They don't think people should don't have that mindset.
People should have integrity. You know, you know why? You see now they are putting the entire burden on the judiciary.
Yes.
The entire country now.
Yes.
And the entire country are waiting for judiciary. Why should you wait for judiciary in a democracy? What we should be doing further is that we should not be conducting any election.
Let judiciary
go to judiciary and
appoint.
Yes.
Esther, let me tell you.
Instead of wasting humongous resources and everything.
Yeah, in 1993, the election was conducted in this nation where there were no technology, there were no social media, nothing happened. Nigerians came out and said they voted for Chief Abiola. It was like the same song in Lagos, down to Maiduguri, down to Bayelsa, and all over. So now, when the election was announced, Nigeria said, no, we know whom we voted for. We must fight this cause. Some of us were in school, some of us were in our final year. We knew we started, school were closing down. We stayed 6 months, 93. 94, when Abiola came and declared himself as president of this nation, we stayed another 6 months at home. Schools were closed down. That is to tell you that Nigerians know that the election of 2023 was a fraud.
Yes.
And Nigerians, because when they know what happened in transpired in 1993, when there were no technology, when there were no social media. So you cannot begin to put sand in the gari that you are giving to a blind man, and you are telling the blind man that you are eating gari, you are drinking gari, when the blind man knows that he is drinking sand.
His wickedness.
So the wickedness of INEC in this election must be exposed in the judiciary, and the judiciary must be able to tell Nigerians where that wickedness.
But Evans, you said something now. You said, look at what has happened. The body is now on the judiciary. And the judiciary has to work on what the undeniable evidence. I don't even know how the judiciary wants to go about this case based on the evidence that we presented to it. I don't know if they're going to go with evidence or go with morality.
No, the court go with evidence.
Not to go with evidence. Okay, fine. So let's just hope that this political party brought strong evidence to defend their claim, to defend their mandate. That is the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party. But still on the cases that the election tribunal, these are cases that has actually occurred. So we're not delving into futuristic tendencies. All right. The APC took close its case against Labour Party and the PDP, and brought in a particular witness who is the majority leader, and there is something he said while he was, describing or during cross-examination. Through its lead counsel, Fagbemi, came to the conclusion, of course, they decided not to open defense in Article's petition. But there was something he said concerning the $460,000 that was forfeited by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he said something that Tinubu was not arraigned. He said he was neither arraigned, indicted, or sentenced to any criminal charges by the American courts, and that civil forfeiture cannot take the place of criminal trial and conviction. According to him as well, he said the judgment of the U.S. court on the forfeiture of $460,000 has Tinubu's name, but not as a criminal suspect, but as a civil proceeding, insisting that it was a civil forfeiture and not a criminal one. This is where you come in precisely.
Yes. You see, I went through that report, actually. The American legal system have criminal forfeiture and civil forfeiture.
Okay.
But the truth is that the underlying principle there is that somebody has contravened the law, whether it is in civil realm or in the criminal realm. And contravention of the law, the penalty for such, because the American legal system is profit-driven. Profit-driven in the sense that justice should not be for the prosecution or for the claimant only. It should be for the claimant, the defendant, the prosecution, the person, for the society.
The states, yeah.
Okay. Now, the American legal system says, if you take this phone away from me, okay, and whichever way the case is brought forth, okay, if the court decide that this matter will be best settled through a civil forfeiture, they will use a civil forfeiture to ensure that they pull it out from me to the other party. Okay, they will take it out from the other party, back to me. But the truth is that the value of this phone, which originally belongs to me, must come back to me. Okay. Now, they may not prosecute the other party, especially where the other party is coming and saying the truth.
Okay.
Or submitting himself willingly to return whatever it is a proceed of either crime or whatsoever. So in this case, actually, it was a civil engagement. But the fact that it was civil engagement does not mean they did not involve in drugs.
All right.
They were involved in drugs dealing, peddling drugs. But the system is that you can be remorseful, they can recompense, you can have solace, as long as you are saying the truth. You are willing to have that fund forfeited to government and all that. So the legal system is such that you have such. Nigeria just introduced that this year.
Yeah.
This year. Now you see the second Equiremado's, there's a proceeding, now a civil proceeding for forfeiture by the Proceed of Act, which was signed into law by President Buhari before he left. They just introduced that now into Nigeria. Now, those who went through that process, okay, even though you cannot say they went through criminal trial and were convicted, and therefore all that, does not divorce the fact that these properties they had or the monies they had were procured through a proceed of crime. But the reason why the state wanted back or to forfeit. You understand? Now, it is left for the court to look at the matter in question and say, was there an offense committed? Okay? Because if you look at the law, our constitution is very clear as to who should become a president. And besides, that is not the only issue against him. Those were just for me, those were pre-qualification issues. You know, the guy is talking about the fact that he was not even qualified. Before we talk about the substantive issue of rigging, irregularities, substantial non-compliance,
and all these glitches and all this,
and the glitches and all that. So, on the pre-qualification side, the court will decide. Our court will decide whether or not an offense was committed, whether it is civil, whether it is criminal. The court will decide. Then the court will also decide whether it was substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act, and whether the substantial non-compliance with the affected the outcome of the results, which is what the court will determine. So the evidence are the witness, of course, is supposed to defend the case of it's supposed to defend this case because it's for the outside. But cross-examination too has opened up certain vistas for which the court has taken judicial notice of. So we wait for the court pronouncement. Nobody can sit here and say that is what the court will decide or not until they turn in their final written addresses from all sides, and then the court will give a date for judgment.
All right.
And I also believe that
I want to ask, the next question is actually, he actually stated during cross-examination that INEC is at liberty to use any mode of collation it deems fit. Is this part of the electoral guidelines? Is also the act. So he said if INEC decided to collate the result manually the way they did, even if it is not based on the fact that they promised us that they're going to do things in real time electronically, the fact is that results were collated, and so whichever way INEC decides to collate results, they're at liberty to do so. That's what he said. Of course, he also said there was something he actually mentioned.
Very wrong.
That's what he said. That was basically his submission at the court to say he's a lawyer. And we do know that he's a very close ally of the current president at the moment. And if you listen to a couple of press briefings he had given before now, you hear him hail the president, thank the president for his support, for enabling him studying the US, how he got his what do you call it, the call to bar certificate and all of that. So what comes to mind is this. One would think that there are conspiracy theories that he was strategically placed to be the majority leader, because it's like the president, who is a political strategist, knew that at one point in time something like this could come up. Do you think that this is what transpired?
When you want to get into crime, you have to sit back and plan what will be the outcome of the crime and the backlashes, or what the other party might also deploy to fight the outcome of whatever crime you have committed or you intend to commit. So I believe if when we are trying to orchestrate this act of alleged rigging, because court will tell us whether there was outright rigging or not, they have put other things in place to fight back. And when they say go to court, basically also they have things they put in place to also fight back at the courts.
All right.
But for him to say that INEC is at liberty to decide whichever method you use to collect the election is a big kind of insult and the sensibility of Nigerians. That was actually what they said in 2019 during Articles case, that INEC has the right to collect manually and all that, because Electoral Act did not recognize electronic transmission of them. But luckily, Buhari came up, signed that act into law, signed that bill into law. Now that INEC is to transmit electronically, and they have been using that. The result transmitted in National Assembly, they all transmitted electronically. They were not done manually. Even though the elections they had prior to presidential election, they were in Anambra, they were in Osun State, they were all transmitted electronically. There was no place that the Act specifically said that INEC can transmit manually or electronically.
Well, there are regulations.
Yes, even though that.
There are regulations.
That's what I'm just saying. They said there was no play that the Act said so. But it was a regulation that said so. And this cannot supersede the Act.
Are you sure?
Yes. INEC is at liberty to decide at certain points.
But not in bad faith.
Yes, one or two things to be done.
Okay.
But that doesn't translate to engaging something that will be inimical.
That was
Because of the election.
You know why I asked this question? Because when Mahmoud Yakubu questioned, he stood on his ground by saying I did nothing wrong by the method through which they announced and committed results.
No.
He stood on that ground. That was basically what he had on. And there were questions being asked. He said they didn't go out of the rules and regulations. They didn't go out of the electoral act.
They would have actually anchored their defense on that. And all this, you're coming up with this issue of glitches and other things.
Legally speaking,
why telling us about glitches?
Legally speaking, they may not have contravened any law for not transmitting electronic. But the truth is that morally speaking, you transmitted the same result, the same thing in that.
And again,
now you did not transmit the president. They are not asking you. You suddenly remember.
Yeah, that's where I want to come in now because
you suddenly remember that you can actually you never told you can actually use any method of your choice. See, the truth is that the way legislation is couched, any legislation that gives you discretion. That is why when they say the president can exercise prerogative with mercy, the attorney general of the state can exercise, you can actually free the criminal, but the law says you must do it judicially and judiciously. That is the caveat because of abuse. So the fact that it's not really expressed in law, but the regulation has stated that that's what you ought to do, and you fail to do it, you concocted that. That is what we are saying. That you should have decided that the whole of the elections, all the
transmit, and also
you will not transmit, or that you will transmit. Why transmit someone?
Even the spokesman, Festus Okoye, when he was constantly engaged on how the elections will be transmitted, he assured Nigerians on several occasions in television.
They will Chatham House
and other places. You never told them that the elections could be transmitted
at your
manually or electronically or whichever way it is. So you cannot come up at this last moment to begin to tell us you have the option of doing that. In law, you cannot just do that.
It's in bad faith.
Because if you have wanted to do that, put everybody on notice. Because in law, they will always ask you that put people, you put them on notice. You have communicated them. In a Sunday, you put him on notice so that he will configure his mindset on what he's going to see during the course of the election. You can't just tell us because you are caught of allegedly committing a crime, you now say, no, I can transmit manually. Did you tell people that elections will be transmitted manually or electronically before time? You did not say so.
All right. The conversation is actually quite interesting. Remember that we're streaming live on YouTube. It's at VOP TV Live. Kindly subscribe so you get notified when any interesting conversation is actually streaming on there. Also, it's VOP 90.3 and that is VOP 903 on YouTube. So be part of the conversation that you're hear from. The WhatsApp number to call, send a message to 0700 903 9039 0700 903 9039. Call the number 0700 903 903 903 0700 903 903 903. Now, the Kano State government has indicated its intention to withdraw a suit seeking to stop the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission from probing Abdullahi Ganduje. You do know that Abdullahi Ganduje was a former governor of the state, and that was because of bribery allegations. Now, in 2018, a Daily Nigerian, an online newspaper, published videos of Ganduje allegedly receiving bundles of dollars from contractors, which he stuffed into his babariga. And you recall that was when the coinage, Gandola, actually came on board for him. Now, the babariga is a traditional outfit. The newspaper said the former governor requested $5 million as a bribe from the contractors who recorded the video. While the governor debunked the content of the videos, the Kano House of Assembly subsequently set up a committee to investigate the allegations. Now, the former Attorney General of Kano had filed a suit to restrain the EFCC from investigating the former governor until a suit between Ganduje and Jafar, publisher of the Daily Nigerian, is determined. Now, the EFCC is the only defendant in the suit. However, in a new development, Haruna Dederi, Kano Attorney General, has issued a notice of discontinuance via letter dated July 4 and addressed to Sanusi Musa, a senior advocate handling the suit. Now, my question is this. One could almost smell a political solution to a case that the courts ought to have handled. Seeing those videos, one wonders, what gives the authorities the courage to go after any other person or persons for that matter? The first question is for you, Mr. Elvis Elimele.
Thank you. It's a drama that is going on in Kano. You see, when we begin to see Aso Rock, the seat of government in Nigeria has returned to Mecca of sorts since the inauguration of President Ahmed Tinubu. You expect things of this nature. Remember, there was a time Ganduje was in Aso Rock and Kwankwaso was in Aso Rock, and it was, when Ganduje came out, when Kwankwaso came, Ganduje came out, he said, your boss has just left the Aso Rock. If they had met him, they would have slapped him. That's just about 3 weeks ago. And you've seen all the demolition that has been going on in Kano. You know, everything in Kano has, almost everything that Ganduje, some of those things Ganduje did have been revised by this Yaku, what's his name now, the new governor of Kano, who incidentally were told is the in-law to Kwankwaso. So what I mean, this shifting of goalposts from one to another, okay, he started pulling down some of those things he felt it was not good for the Kano people. And now he's saying, from the other side, he's saying, okay, they are no longer going to prosecute, probe him again. These are politicians at work.
Okay.
Yes. Now, what the present government is doing now is aligning government of national interest, not government of national unity. All these visits you are seeing are going to Aso Rock are to upturn some certain things. Probably there are some discussions in Aso Rock now. You know how they lost Kano to the present Kwankwaso's party, NAPP. And now it is being rumored now that Kwankwaso is going to be part of those that will the government and all these meetings that have been going on in Aso Rock these days could be favorable to Ganduje, because we don't know what the government president has come up with Kwankwaso, that let there be peace in Kano.
Right.
Let Kano be a state, you know, Kano is politically very volatile. Let it be a state that will not give me issues in this my administration. So talk to your boy, who is also your in-law, whom you have brought into power. I can't see why, I mean, the governor that started discrediting most of the things that were done by Ganduje, and they are not going to probe Ganduje, especially when we saw that dollars that went so viral, and we saw the House Assembly.
We have called in America. Good evening. In America, if you can hear me, can you kindly respond? In America, hello. Hello. All right, okay. Remember that you can actually call us on 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. And of course, the WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. The question I want to ask is this. The Kano state government actually sent a notification to the EFCC to prosecute that case, to go ahead and prosecute Ganduje.
To discontinue the other case, stopping the prosecution.
Initially. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing a backtrack coming from the state government asking the EFCC from. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Hello, what's your name?
Police was demoted.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your name?
Hello? Yeah. My name is from Ejigo.
All right, Mr. Ahmad, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing with you there. Because whatever there is, the discussion that the following job. You know, we say that put your shot on them. All this is this government situation apparently now. They are under tension here. You know, Mahmoud have destroyed this nation, and God will not forgive him.
And you know, though, wherever it is now, he can have less of mind because he wants to put this nation in disarray, and God will not allow that. Is not to contribute to you.
All right.
God bless
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling. All right. We do appreciate that. So I was asking a question. I said that all of a sudden, the Kano State government is writing to AFCC to no longer go ahead with that particular probe, asking them from now forthwith, don't pursue that matter until further notice. I mean, there's a contradiction.
Yeah, the contradiction is not coming from the Kano State government. Okay. It's coming from a power that is bigger than him. Otherwise, what we saw him doing since he came into office are also power that do this. But the same power has now told him reverse this thing because something else is coming up. Let me tell you, all this theory they are trying to come up with now will eventually backfire. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what one person will be looking for. I don't know the kind of appointment he will be looking for. He has been governor for 8 years. He's been minister in this nation and he's been a senator. I don't know what APC government of has promised him that will lead this one that for now to begin to, to indict these people. The people of Kano want Ganduje's government to be probed because of what they saw. But unfortunately, now they are not coming out to tell, let's pull this one down. But remember, in 2027, these people are coming back to ask for election for vote from these same Kano people. We are waiting. If they don't want to do the bidding of the people now, the people will not do their own then when the time comes. Remember, he was governor and he lost to Shakara before he got back and completed his next 4 years. Kano have always been having that. The situation where Abba Yusuf, this present governor, may have issues by 2027 if he continues to listen to the dictate of his boss at the expense of his people who voted him into power. We saw in 2023, in 2003, when AD government said, in your presidential election, vote Obasanjo for PDP. But in other elections, vote AD. That election scattered the Western states, that the 6 states of the West, 5 lost their governorship position. Only this present president survived Lagos. So when they are going back in 2027, after they have had this, drama, prosecute, don't prosecute, do this, don't do this, one person is, spoon-feeding the whole state, is going to spare them politically in 2027. So when they are doing their calculation of their permutation now, I expect them to know that politicians want to be relevant to power at all times, except Abba Yusuf want to cut his political career at the end of this administration.
Barrister Evans Sufele, I was one that was also very surprised when I saw that order coming from the Kano State government. When Abba Yusuf came, in fact, he started raising the drum even before the final relay of leadership was transmitted, and he was clamoring the fact that changes were needed to be made, monies that he came and met and not up to, and all of that stuff. So how did you hear him give an order to say prosecute this case, go ahead, we want to know the end of it, and all of a sudden we're seeing an order to the EFCC asking them to no longer prosecute that matter? It begs the question, what happened in one night or in 2 days? What kind of malhandling took place? The executive governor of that particular state, who is that person that could have made you rescind your order? That can only come from the presidency. So if it's not from the presidency, who is that person that could have made him rescind his earlier statement?
Well, first and foremost, it doesn't lie in the mouth of the governor.
Okay.
Kano State to dictate to EFCC who to prosecute or not.
That's a good one.
Okay, so EFCC in its own interest and in public interest is an independent organization that is charged with the responsibility of prosecuting economic and financial crimes. So whether there is a petition from a body to prosecute someone, or EFCC can to take up the prosecution and investigation, especially or particularly criminal suspect that was caught on camera in the days where he was protected by the immunity clause under Section 308 of the Constitution. Now that it's no longer a governor, it's the right time to prosecute. So for me, I think that the water that has gone under the bridge between the governor and the state, and the filing motion to restrain, not to prosecute, and all that, is politics. Politics is about negotiation, settlement, and one of the biggest problems in our society is that substantive governors, or those who hold offices, have a way of using the powers they have to negotiate for the future to instill continuity or to come back a second term or all that. And that is why we're saying that the president, whoever should emerge a president of Nigeria, should be one that will be above board, like Caesar's wife. But when you have this kind of emergence, this kind of president who also have so many allegations of criminality, and then you have a governor that have been caught on camera with criminality, and the deep calls upon the iron sharpened iron. You have like minds taking over the occupants and the territory of our economic well-being, and this like mind will entrench themselves. They will continue to push forward. Okay, that is, and at the end of the day, the Nigerian is the worst hit. Okay, in this situation. So the only way we are going to prune our society is to ensure that we instill integrity, push everyone who have criminal tendencies and criminal prognosis out of space, have people who can move the country forward. That is the only way. Because you see this manipulation that is going on is quite very good. The government of Kano State is appropriating. In one breath, you are saying prosecute this guy because he committed an offense. In another breath, after several water has gone under the bridge, you recline from that. You are almost like saying, okay, let's just move on. All is fine. And that's not how to run a government. I'm sure that the people of Kano State will be surprised at what is going on. But the truth is that their governor have used them to negotiate political issues. Yes. And at the end of the day, what you have is what you get. So,
wow, interesting. Now, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission says it does not have files implicating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in its offices. On Friday, that's just 2 days ago, a report alleged that officers of the Department of State Services removed all incriminating files relating to Tinubu and his close aides from ICPC and the Code of Conduct Bureau. The report claimed that the secret police allegedly asked the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to steer clear of political cases for now. Reacting in a statement posted on its Twitter page on Saturday, the ICPC said the allegation wasn't true. They also disclosed that it does not dispute the role of the media to inform the public, but called for responsible reporting. Barrister John Wokedi, on Friday, a particular online news medium put out this particular story, this information, stating that the ICPC and the EFCC, if you recall when there was that fracture between the EFCC and the DSS at the time, they said that the story alleged that it was a cover-up, that apparently in the middle of the night, the DSS invaded the office of the EFCC along with the ICPC, and they took away files and documents in places of electronic devices, that is flash drives, hard disks, hard drives, of, implicating issues on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, implicating cases of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his close aides, including other ex-governors. When that story came at play, it sounded like a conspiracy theory, possibly, that had been put together, but that circulated, and then questions are now being asked. What exactly was the issue between the DSS and the EFCC at the time? At what point do the ICPC come in and the CCB, that's Code of Conduct Bureau, come in to take away these important documents that could be implicated? And what else do they know that we do not know? Why are documents or cases being taken away or hidden? Is there somebody that will be fingered in the next 1 or 2 months that could influence the outcome of anything that this is actually taking place? However, the ICPC was mentioned, the CCB that has mentioned, they said they were not part of that. They did not do anything like that. Is this a cover up? Could this be true? Because for an online medium like that to come up with that story, they want some inside sources and that kind of information.
When I saw that report, to be honest and sincere, I viewed it with a kind of doubt.
Okay.
Yes, I viewed it with a kind of doubt. Because one, the president in question, by virtue of Section 3, already has immunity.
Right.
You can't prosecute him now as a president. So whatever information that we have required to do something that might appear detrimental to his tenure or to his career would have been at this tribunal. Aside, I can't prosecute him again, with criminal matters, as the law provides. Then if they're talking about his acts, okay, there might be something like that. But the question now is that at what point did the DSS invade ICPC and the Code of Conduct Bureau? How did they know about the location of these items? Who showed them where they were kept? I mean, if actually you're a lawyer, you have files in your office, Sometimes I feel it's rigorous to search for files in my office because I'm not conversant with some file. I'll call my secretary, look, get me so and so file. Because it will be difficult for me to get it. Then you go to police, you go to where they keep files. They have department by department. You have AFF, you have ECGS, you have EFF, you have so many departments. Those departments, you have units. In these units, you have where they kept their files according to years and individuals. So, can somebody just invade ICPC and begin to cut away files without connivance of an insider? They're telling us that they smuggled files out. The guy said DSS came there and took up flash drives and all these things. Do you know how important they are, where they are kept? Now, do they have any matter in court?
Exactly.
With respect to all these individuals, is there any matter pending in any court? But these individuals, we already mentioned their names. Were they being prosecuted? Do you have any matter pending in any court, regarding them? Or you want to tender all these things, all these materials they have mentioned as evidence in court?
Because you will have to go to the ICPC and the CCP to do all of this.
Do all of this. How do you do that? How are you able to identify the places these things are kept, and the files and the years and sections and all that? You're able to get them out and then you cut them. Oh, no. I saw that report. I said, okay, anything can be on the social media, anything can be on the paper. For me, when I see publications and other things, I first deploy my knowledge as a lawyer to review that post or whatever within my own personal intuition.
Right.
I can tell you that, look, this thing lacks merits. That is my own view.
Because of time, this particular case, when we talked about it right here, and when it came about, you asked us was, is it to say it's far-reaching, or is it far-reaching actually for the EFCC, or rather for the DSS actually ask the EFCC to stay off any political case for now? Is it far-reaching to see that actually take place, that kind of scenario?
No. It's the EFCC, the DSS do not have such rights to tell the EFCC what to do.
Okay.
There is no law, whether in the EFCC or to do what they meant to provide national security for the presidency, the governors, and the president, and all that. So sometimes they extend it to some other corporations. Right. Okay, so but they are not a regulatory body. It's the regulatory authorities that will tell you what you can do and what you cannot do from the ambit of the law. They are a law enforcement agents. So EFCC is on its own. Whatever, anytime they get into that dimension, it's an arbitrary conduct that should be.
It's even, if any, sorry, they can do that, sorry. It might even be like Attorney General of the Federation that might even try to tell EFCC not to go ahead with a matter.
All right.
And not.
Say something.
Yeah, because the Attorney General of the Federation have certain powers to discontinue and then take over criminal prosecution before judgment, which is also limited. So the truth is that the DSS and the EFCC have been having some
wranglings,
crises, wranglings lately, and it shouldn't be. Sometimes the DSS see themselves as the body that's expected to protect the president, and every other institution is anti that purpose, which is wrong. And the DSS have been involved in so many legalities.
Exactly. That's why I asked you if that is far-reaching for
Scandals.
It's very dangerous. I mean,
It's coming.
In fact, I would recommend that the DSS should go back to the look at actually what the objectives are.
All right, thank you. Because we've run out of time. Mr. Elvis, what's your take in a minute?
You know, sometimes, Esther, those of us in the media, you and I, we know that when some of this report comes up, especially in the newsroom, where is your source? That's the first question we ask, where is your source? And that's why sometimes when we read from the bloggers, those of us that were trained in the mainstream media, we actually try to weigh the authenticity of the report before we bring it before the public glare. And I know the online media, so they are popular, and sometimes they come up with the breakthroughs of this nature that actually some of them are actually come out to be true. And do a lot of in-depth, especially watching the government in quotes. But when I read it too, I wasn't too comfortable with guys, you know. I don't know. I mean, who will have all that time to go and be, you know, going from one fight to another? But you also know that politicians also have also coached the media so much that some of these reports now flies. If they cannot get it in the mainstream, they can easily get it in the bloggers who are hanging around as journalists, just finding how to move themselves forward. So,
all right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the political spotlight today. I do appreciate you. My name is Esther Wachko. Remember to subscribe at VOP TV Live on YouTube, as well as VOP 90.3 FM. For now, bye. Have a good day. Thank you.